Tonight on NBC 15 News at 6, we're dedicating our entire newscast to a conversation with the candidate for mayor of Mobile.
All of the candidates were qualified.
The challenges they'll face.
Well, I really think they ought to clean up the property.
And why they say they deserve your vote.
We need to hear the community.
We're taking you beyond the podium in a special edition of NBC 15 News. Good evening again, everyone. Tonight, NBC 15 News is sitting down with Mobile County Commissioner Connie Hudson. Hudson has more than 2 decades of municipal experience, first being elected to the Mobile City Council in 2001. There, she represented District 6 for 9 years, and following that, she was elected to the Mobile County Commission for District 2. That was in 2010. During her tenure, she served on several boards connected to education, city development, and health care, and now she hopes to continue her work in the city of Mobile as mayor. Commissioner Connie Hudson, thanks for joining us so much. Speaking of signature, I stumbled across it there, but you just signed a beam a little while ago.
We did at the Aquatic Center. We're about halfway through, got 42% of the construction project complete and on time and on budget.
And that's been a pet project of yours. I know that you've talked about it being a possible economic impact upon South Alabama. We might as well talk about that right now. How do you see that affecting the economy of South Alabama, and what would you like to build upon that platform?
Well, I think it can have a tremendous impact. If you compare it with other cities like Birmingham, with Huntsville, and what they've got, and how often that they have tourism come in, sports tourism with different meets, and they bring in thousands of people, many thousands of people, and that's one thing about youth sports in particular. It's recession proof. I mean, when families travel with their young people to these different sporting events, whatever they happen to be, they bring the whole family and the grandma and grandpa and aunts and uncles and everybody.
Baldwin County is seeing a lot of profit from that. Do you feel like we missed the boat there, or are you trying to hedge in on some of that?
I don't think we've missed the boat at all. I'll tell you what, there is enough to go around. And we have with the soccer complex, for instance, we have 3 fields, and they are begging for more, because as we provide those amenities, it grows. The sport in our community grows, and especially with aquatics, the City of Mobile Swim Association and the hundreds of young people that participate and really are forced to use the facilities that are available, which is not adequate. Yeah. And so the sky's the limit on what can happen when we actually have adequate facilities to host these types of events.
And I want to talk about mixing your current experience with municipal experience. You have been, since 2010, a county commissioner. You have been on the city council before. How do you see that prepping you for what would require you as mayor? Well,
I have the legislative and the administrative experience, having served in both roles as commissioner and council member. I've been a policy maker. I have dealt with hundreds of millions of dollars in budgets. I have managed staff. I have worked on economic development projects, global industries, been a lead negotiator when we brought in Airbus. I was the signatory on that contract, and worked on major capital projects like the Aquatic Center and a soccer complex, recycling center, senior centers, and I truly enjoy. That's one of the best parts of the job, is getting these from concept to completion and seeing the impact that they have on the community. So I think all of that experience together in leadership, that's what I'm offering. I've got the 23 years and everything that goes with that, and I can put that to work right away. When I walk in the door, no learning curve. I am ready to go to work for the citizens of the city of Mobile and take Mobile to the next level.
Now, in county commission, you have 2 other commissioners, and you 3 seem to work together quite well. When you transition to city council, and you've been on the city council, you're dealing with, as a mayor, 7 folks out there with maybe similar opinions, but differing needs and requirements from their own constituents. It's not going to be I don't want to say it's a cakewalk now for you, but it's not going to be the cakewalk that you have right now. It's going to be different. And are you prepared for that?
Well, I've been one of those 7 folks, so I know what it's like, and I know what a relationship should be like in working with the mayor's office. And I think it goes back to communication. That's the the bottom line on everything. Whether I'm dealing with 2 other commissioners or whether I'm working with 7 council members, it's communicating, it's listening, it's working together and trying to help them be successful. I think when you listen and you work with them and you help them and you're working together, it really is the platform for the relationship that should be there.
You probably were watching when Mayor Stimpson had to go through a lot of turmoil with Paul Pride, and we talked about that last night with the police chief, and you can see how things can get rocky all of a sudden and turn into, well, it was a crisis for the mayor, for his administration. You were watching all that. What were you thinking, and did you have any in the back of your mind, any advice that you would have given if asked for in that situation?
Well, it's all about trust and confidence, and I think that the council and the mayor, they have to have a level of confidence and trust in each other and working relationship. And so, when it starts off rocky, you've got to bring that up to the point where you can work together. And I think that it may or may not be difficult in that case.
Are you good at compromising?
Am I what?
Good at compromising? Are you
Oh,
a compromiser?
You bet I am.
You are?
Trust me, there are times, over the years that it's not easy necessarily, but that where you may disagree this time, next time you may need that vote, you may need that support, so you don't burn bridges for one thing, and there's always a way to figure out to compromise. I've discovered, but that goes with experience.
Okay, let's talk about public safety. And I talked to these candidates before we go on the air because I want them to give you good answers and I don't want them to be blindsided by anything. But we talked about the fact that you have been lucky when it comes to public safety because you have a sheriff. He's elected. He takes care of most of that. Of course, you do budgetary things. As a mayor, you're going to be choosing a police chief. You're going to be choosing a fire chief. You're going to be dealing with personalities, and you're going to be dealing with budgets and council members that may not disagree or agree with you,
right.
And the public who is looking at everything they do. Are you ready for that? And where will you get that strength to make those decisions you don't make now?
Oh, I am absolutely ready for that. I think it is so very important when you are mayor that you surround yourself. I don't have to be a police chief or a former police chief. I need to know how to select people who are experts at what they do, who can work with others, who can build a team work attitude, and can move us forward and take us to where our objectives are, where our goals are.
Would you be making that decision on your own, or would you try to get some sort of outside advice or a task force? I mean, how would you go about making a decision to choose a police chief?
I think that I am always open to listening to people with opinions about things, and I would certainly query the council, and I'm sure I'll be getting advice from the community. That, But in the end, you have to go with instinct and what you believe in your heart is the right direction. Because as mayor, that's what you do. You in the end, that's where the buck stops. You have to make the decision, and if that decision is the wrong decision, then you change it. Yeah. But I think you have to rely on your own experience and instincts to help guide you with those types of decisions.
Does Mobile need a public safety director?
That is a big question mark, Darwin. I don't know. I like the idea. If we're saying that public safety is our top priority, then although I'm not a micromanager, but I want to be involved. I want to know. I want to understand where the problems are and how we need to address them. And the only way to do that is to communicate directly with the police chief.
Do you think then that, because last night I was talking to Prine and he said the city of Mobile is not big enough to have a public safety director. I can talk to the chief and I can talk to the fire chief myself. I don't need that person in between. But a mayor is a busy person. So Do you think you need that liaison? Do you need that person, or is that something you just have to fill out on your own?
I think that we will. I'll discover that. You know, if it gets to a point where it's overwhelming, and I think that position is needed, is necessary, then the position is there. Okay. So, but initially, you know, we're going to have a lot to do. We're going to set goals on where we want to be as a community as far as dealing with crime, and we're going to be all part of that discussion. And but we'll see how that goes.
Okay, I want to pick up on that when we get back, because you have talked about having an additional 100 police officers on the force. I want to talk about that when we come back, and we'll be right back with County Commissioner Connie Hudson and now mayoral candidate Connie Hudson as Behind the Podium continues. Back here with Connie Hudson, who wants your vote for mayor, and we were talking about public safety. And one of the things that you have on your website is that you'd like to add an additional 100 officers to the city of Mobile. Why do you think we need them, and where will they come from?
Well, the goal is up to 100. It depends on some reorganization, but the reason that we need more is because we need to get back and return to community-based policing. Now, that's not to say that we don't need intelligence-led working with it, but we need to have police officers in neighborhoods. They need to be around parks and public spaces. The visibility is what builds trust and confidence with the community, and also deters crime, because criminals, they see there's patrolling going on. It's like, well, you know, maybe I should move on. So I think it's important. And back when I was a member of the city council, we had community-based policing, and the crime rate, you know, the statistics were lower. And so I think that, and from what I'm hearing from friends in law enforcement, that is a very valid thing that we should do, is return to that.
You know, I was doing a story the other day in Fairhope. Fairhope is dropping their take-home policy you could just take it home in Baldwin County, but now they're widening that to where an officer can take home the car from Mobile County if they wanted to, say, hire a police officer out of Mobile. And then you have ICE that's going after Gulf Coast police officers. You have a lot of people trying to get your officers.
I know.
So
The county.
how do you the county? Okay, now that's interesting. How do you combat that?
Well, it's salary benefits is the big thing that if you're trying to recruit, but there's also a lot more than that. If you're offering professional development or take-home cars, those types of perks or educational, stipends or whatever. But we've got to figure out a way. If public safety is our number one priority and we need more police officers, then we align budgets, we figure out a way to make that happen. We have to, if we're going to live up to our promise and improve safety in our community.
All right, we're going to move on to another subject now. You've had a lot of influence with affordable housing and care for seniors. Could you talk about the importance of reaching that demographic? I know there's a senior center named after you. Seniors sometimes get overlooked.
Right.
Your thoughts?
Well, senior recreational center, it's of course there's not residential there.
Right.
And but yes, senior centers, and actually there's two of them that I have been a part of establishing. One is in Sims, and it's been amazing to me, Darwin, because they've changed lives. If there was ever a reason to be in public service, it's been the feedback that I receive from senior citizens who tell me, I was lonely at home, I had lost my spouse, or I just moved to Mobile and I didn't have any friends, but I started going to the senior center and now I have friends, I'm taking art classes, and it's just changed my life. And I've heard that over and over, and that's what really propels me. But but yes, in many respects the seniors have been overlooked, and I'm trying to rectify that.
Yeah. I wonder though, you've got a lot of things that you want to do on your website. The mayor has said with the investments that we're making right now that the budget for some of these nice things, I say they're essential to some people, that some people call them nice things. It's the money might not be there, and if the federal government is going to return more responsibilities on the cities and counties, which they appear to be doing, there might be a cash strap somewhere down the road. How will you get some of these things done, like improving education? I know you want to try to get more pre-K development sites in the city. How would you go about doing that if you don't have money?
Well, I think there are certainly grant opportunities that we can look at in working with the school system, for instance, on the pre-K program, or even technical, workforce technical training programs. But there's no doubt that we'll have to do some belt tightening. But then again, I want to take a deep dive on the budget itself. It's not terribly clear when you look at line items, what expenses are where.
Have you looked at the budget?
I have. I've done cursory look at it. There's some expenses that have jumped up significantly in just the last 3 or 4 years. And figure out why that has happened, and what can we do to streamline, what can we do to save money. There's always cost savings and best practices and what you can look at doing to cut back. I know we've done it time and again, through the county, and I think, and certainly before that with the city when I was there, and I think that's where we start. Where are there cost savings and to be able to save to do these things.
When you say that, there's some people that go, oh, there goes my job. Should people be concerned?
Well, at this point in time, I'm not gonna threaten anybody's job. Okay.
It would be a little premature, I guess. That's true.
But what we need to do is take a look at the organizational chart and look to see what can be consolidated. What we can do if there are certain positions that are needed or not needed. But we have to always keep in mind that it's what's in the best interest of the city of Mobile. That's why we exist, is to provide services and to provide for the fundamental needs of our citizens.
All right, we're going to take a break right now, and when we get back, we have a couple more questions. So I would like you to stay with us, because it's your chance to find out how Connie Hudson feels about her run for mayor, as we have done with all of our candidates, and we'll be back to do that in just a moment. We're back with mayoral candidate Connie Hudson. We got a couple questions left. One of them, we've been talking with the other candidates about blight. What would you do to try to get some of these properties in Mobile that are in such decay either torn down or revitalized?
Well, there's a number of things. Code enforcement is the first and foremost that we need to look into, because we have properties that aren't meeting safety standards, safety codes, and we have to demand that they, with the property owners, if we know who the property owner is, that they meet those codes. And if they don't, then they'll be penalized. I mean, that's the only way you can do that. Now, there are properties that are abandoned, that are derelict, that are tax delinquent, and in those cases, we can start quiet title proceedings, actions, and gain a marketable title of those properties. Work with developers to redevelop, revitalize, turn those into commercial areas or residential, and get them, make them a benefit to the community and back on the tax rolls. But for those that say, well, we can't afford it, we need some, the Office of Neighborhood Redevelopment with the city, there are grant funds that are available to help with maybe some facade improvements. So the city, we'd rather use or the county too, would rather use the carrot than the stick if we can get some compliance and work together. But we're going to do what we have to do, because this blight, I hear it everywhere I go. It's in areas of the historic neighborhoods. It's downtown. It's, there's blight everywhere.
We have time just for our last question, which I've been asking every candidate, and that is something that Mayor Stimpson ran on, and it kind of caught hold, and that is One Mobile. So I want to ask you, Connie Hudson, what is One Mobile to you?
One Mobile to me means leaving no area of the city behind. It means that all areas that have needs, that we need to look at addressing those, whether it's maintenance of infrastructure, filling potholes, going out to make sure that the parks are clean, that grass is cut on the rights of ways, that response times for public safety are adequate, that we're helping those parts of the community with economic business development and housing development. It means making sure that every area of the community is vibrant, is we're moving those areas to the next level, because as a whole, we're talking communities, neighborhoods, but we're all part of the city of Mobile, and we haven't gotten to where we need to be in realizing our full potential until every area, we can lift up every area and make that happen. And that means bringing people to the table, bringing citizens. Government shouldn't be making all the decisions. We need to communicate, collaborate, build consensus, and work together. But no area should be left behind, and in my administration, they will not be.
One last question. If someone did not get their question asked or answered tonight, how can they get a hold of you, and how can they ask that question to you?
Well, I would advise anybody that is looking to get in touch with me to go to voteconnie.com, and we will, and there's an opportunity to put a question on there, and I will certainly be happy to answer, and just would ask everybody to certainly consider me on August the 26th, and humbly ask for everyone's support.
All right. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate you being here with us. And we want to thank Connie Hudson for joining us tonight. If you missed any of our conversations with the candidates this week, you can find the full newscast on our YouTube channel and also on our website, mynbc15.com. NBC 15 has given candidates a full newscast to try to win your vote. So now we want to know what you think. Which mayoral candidate for Mobile will get your vote on Election Day? To answer this poll, head to our website, mynbc15.com.